Right, this is
And
Jason,
this is KaiKai.
and our app is Bulls and Cows, but it's also known as Moo. This is the rules button, but I'm going to explain it, so we won't go into that. Bulls and Cows is a number guessing game, and we have six different levels. Level one is 3 digits. Two is also 3 digits, but there's a timer, and it just increases in number with the timer repeating. So I'm going to show you level five. So this is 5 digits without a timer. So the goal of the game is to guess a randomly generated number. And to do that, you're going to be given feedback in the form of cows or bulls. Cows means that you've guessed a correct digit in the incorrect spot, and bulls means you've guessed the correct digit in the correct spot. But it's not going to tell you which bulls and which number corresponds to the bulls and cows that you've received. That's for you to figure out based on how you guess. So if I bring up the logcat, and I bring up this, and I guess a 5 digit number, and I submit, we see we've got 3 cows, and the number is 23094. So the 3 cows are 2, 3, and 4 because they are, I, I've guessed them within my input, but they're in the wrong spots from the digit down below. Now I'm going to go ahead and win the game real quick. 9-4. And you could see you're taken back to the win page. So the reason we chose this was because this is a game I played when I was younger with my family, and we thought it'd be a cool app for a game. So my role on the project was implementing the timers for each level and setting up the UI and also helping to implement the code on seeing if the player's input was either received bulls or cows. And now KaiKai is going to tell you what he did.
As for my responsibilities in the project, I implemented the sound pool and media player features from Android. I also implemented the components that made up the level. So in terms of like uh, submitting your code, determining whether it's bulls or cows as well. Um, uh, Checking for input fields, and then I also implemented sound effects uh, and our end game results and helped establish the UI. As you can see here in the code, I checked for the input fields in order to disable the enter button so that we wouldn't allow for our user to submit something that was in an incorrect format. And we also added a display submission to show to show the last 10 submissions the user had, and also when the gamer wins and when the gamer loses. Now I'm gonna bring it back over to Jason for our technical problems.
So some technical problems I had when setting up the UI, the theme I chose when I edited it, uh, it started to create a compiler error, and so the game would no longer run. Figured out that was just because the theme that I was editing wasn't a descendant of our default class, so we just had to change our theme's base class to a descendant of the default. Um, for the timer, I had some issues mostly with the formatting within how it appeared on the screen. So this is the timer, and so the string originally was just seconds that would appear, but we didn't want that because we didn't want 5 minutes to show up as the 300 seconds. We wanted it to be how many minutes it was and how many seconds it was. So at first, we just had I set up the minutes and the seconds, but when the seconds got below 10, it wouldn't show that extra zero, so it wouldn't have been like 406, it was just 46. So I had to concatenate the string so it appeared like that. Um, then some other problems we had were the timer not ending after a player had already won or lost based on their amount of attempts or if they guessed the number right. So if they had already won or lost and they moved on, it would have pulled them back to the screen once the timer had finished. So that was one of our technical problems with the timer. So I'm going to hand it back to KaiKai for other technical problems.
So the additional technical problems we had were the importation of pictures that led to missing resource files because we would accidentally replace our default launcher picture and then delete it. Uh, we just were a little careless with deleting things that we thought we didn't need, and then we had to go back and fix it by uh, implementing a new default launcher picture. We also had problems with the MP3 and OGG files, OGG. To make the sound effects work, we found that it depends on the machine we're running on, and learned that the sound effects vary on depending on the emulator.
All right, so the way we kind of um, got together and did the app, made the app was we just met up and we used Kai's computer as the main computer. We pushed everything that was official on his computer and we used mine to like test things out um, and see if they would work. So that was kind of pretty much how we finished our app. And then some improvements that we wanted to do in the future were probably making a more appealing UI instead of a monochrome. We just chose black and white because we figured cow black and white, and restricting the levels so that you had to go in order to play them. Something else that we want to do, or maybe even making some of the levels harder by having if you take too long to guess a number, it re-changes the number midway through. And so this is our app, and this is an original project, and it's published under KaiKai's GitHub.